Hi all you wonderful quilters. I'm Cathy from True Cotton Company in Carmel, Indiana. You can find all the information about the shop, including a link to the website, down in the description box down below. I'm really excited to have you back for the fourth part of this beginning quilt series where we're making the Courthouse Steps table topper. Today we're going to baste the quilt, and we're also going to do some walking foot quilting, which I think when you're a beginner is a great way to do some quilting. And I love beautiful straight line quilting, so you can see that's what I did on this project, and it's what we'll do today, just using the green thread instead of this variegated that I used. So let me set this off to the side, and I'm going to be using as my backing this Three Wishes. It's metallic trees, and it has beautiful shades of green and a little bit of gold throughout it. And I think it'll be lovely, as I mentioned in the very first video when we were doing the cutting, when I was picking my design inspiration. I was seeing lots of the green, the white, and the gold, and so as I thought about that, I was like, oh, I'm going to use that as for the backing of the quilt, and so I think this is going to be lovely. Now we're going to be layering everything together, and so I want the good side down so the wrong side's facing up towards me. And if you have a longer quilt that you're working on, you can use these clamps to hold it down, and that will hold that quite firmly in place. And we're wanting to keep this all very straight and not bubbling and buckling, so we're gonna kind of lock it down. If I'm doing this on the floor at my house, because I don't at my house have a big table like this that most of my quilts will fit on, I will use pins in the carpet of the floor. But when I do have a nice table and a small quilt, I do like this. And then I'm just going to use a little painter's tape around the edges. We just want, this doesn't have to be like super duper firm and tight, but we do want, we're going to be layering fabric on here, and there can be lots of shifting that happens. And since this doesn't reach around the edges to do the clamping on all the sides, I go ahead and use this tape. And we'll just try and smooth things out. I just reach over. Now we'll do this side, and we'll get to that top corner. And I am working with about a yard of fabric. Our piece, the way I did it, ended up 26.5 by 26.5, and then I want a few extra inches around. So I've trimmed off the salvages so I don't have the salvage edges. But here we can see we've got a nice flat center to work with. And then you want a piece of batting. I'm using 100% cotton Hobbs batting. Oh, that was a clamp I hit. And I'm just gonna, now we've got that piece taut. This is just a little smaller than the back. And this usually will be a little grippy, the batting wheel, and I'll just spend some time getting that a little smoother. And then we put our quilt top on top of it. And I just like, this is maybe a little more than you need. I like to have at least a few inches around each side because I'm going to be quilting up around these edges, and I don't like, I want something to hang on to. I don't want it where my hands are too close to the edges. I want to make sure. Now you can spray base. There's fusible battings that you can use. You can use safety pins. What I found quite a few years ago to use, I like these flower head pins. I did already have these, so that's probably why I prefer them. And then these are called Pinmoors, P-I-N-M-O-O-R. And they're little silicone covers for your pin to so the point, and then when you're quilting you just have to pull those apart instead of undoing a safety pin. Leah Day mentioned these a long time ago, and so I've loved them ever since then. You just want to, you'll get down and you'll feel the table and you just want to put that on. And then I typically go about a hand width apart and just pin. Just get in there. It'll come up through. And these wheels sometimes come off while you're quilting, so you can get poked with a pin a little bit. I don't find that too big of a problem for myself, but that would be one thing that I would say can happen when using these. And of course I'm trying a few other pins. I know those little glass head pins that I like so much, they don't work on doing this part of the quilting. Love them for piecing. They give a nice grip. But with this, and you could do this, like I said, with safety pins, and it does take a little while to do all of this. But this will just set you up with less puckering, and you'll be happy with how the quilting turns out. So I think I'll just keep pinning. We'll come back and we'll show you once I've got this all pinned together. So we'll be back with you in just a few moments. All right, this really didn't take that long. I've got everything basted. You go for about every 4 inches. And if you can look here on the back, I think we're looking quite good. But this back is good at disguising. It's got so much texture and movement. We're now going to start actually quilting it. And like I said, you don't have to have quite as much around. You could trim off a few and leave yourself just a few inches. When I have my walking foot on, you're going to want to refer to your owner's manual to see how to put your walking foot on your machine. They're all, I mean, there's similarities in lots of them, and there can be quite a bit of differences between manufacturers. And it is nice. Let me actually, since I have this room here, I'm going to move my table or my machine down on the table a little bit. We might as well have ourselves set up with a little more space on this edge, just so we can fit under here a little nicer. And with the walking foot, typically they recommend you don't go too fast with it. with the walking foot, what happens is you have your feed dogs down low, and the walking foot also has feed dogs on it. And so it will push from the top and the bottom and pull it through. So you've got these layers. It's really nice. And we're just gonna start. And what's really nice about this is your tension's usually pretty similar to the tension you regularly sew with when you're doing free motion quilting. It can be a little quicker process, but it does take a bit more skill and practice. And while I've practiced for quite a while and I've gotten quite a bit better at it, it did take quite a while. And a lot of my first quilts I did walking foot quilting on, and I still love the look of walking foot quilting. I'm using a mint green. It has a slight bit of variegation, but you're really not going to be able to tell because it's all very light greens. And this, I know you're going to really see this light green on the dark green parts of this quilt, but when we get to the white, it's going to blend in really well. And I heard Angela Walters say on one of her YouTube videos, when you're picking thread for your quilt, our eyes are typically happier to see lighter thread on dark fabric than dark thread on light fabric. So that's why I've gone for a lighter green here. And I'm not worried about getting a super duper straight line. I'm going for a pretty straight line. There's lots of seams on this quilt, so there'll be lots of ways to kind of gauge that. But this certainly isn't about perfection. This is about having fun with the process, learning how to do it. Now, how I will typically, since I don't really mark anything, is I will just count my stitches over. And so I'll typically go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do 12. 9, 10, 11, 12. I might have just went 13 there, but 12, 13. And then I just take out the pin, and you see how easy quick that was versus trying to do a safety pin. Now tilt that quilt around. Make sure I'm on my presser foot. And we're coming right along the edge of the dark green now. And I do, when I quilt, I move my stitch length a little bit longer than when I piece. Typically when I piece, I'm around a 2.2, just closer to the 2, and I'm a lot closer to 3 right now. I just think a little longer stitch when quilting looks really nice. See, I got a little off over there, I can see it, but I'm sure as long as I do a little waviness in other parts throughout this quilt, which I'm sure I will, it will all look really nice. do a little rotating this a quarter of the way so we can do our 12 to 13 stitches. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And go right there for the 13. Now I can tell I'm getting a little slippery with my hands, so I've got these gloves here. These are Wonder Grip gloves, which started out as gardening gloves, and when I first bought them, I bought gardening gloves, but now they've found out that quilters really like them, and they do quilter edition. We do have these in the shop. I wear the small. We have extra small, small, medium, and large are the sizes that we could get. And I think it makes it nice, and I'm still able, if I had safety pins, I'd have to take them out, but I can get that. And so with this one, I can use this edge of the white as my guide. And I'm still letting the walking foot and the feed dogs down low do all the movement. I'm just trying to keep it straight. And I think with these gloves on, I will be able to do a little better job of that. Just gonna come along here. Now somebody I really like to see their walking foot quilting ideas is Jackie Gehring. You can find her, and she has a few books, and she does some really good, really fun designs with the walking foot. And so I would highly recommend her if you would like more than just these basic straight lines, which I always think are fabulous. I feel like I'm settling in nicely. I got longer with those 12 stitches than I have. I think me and my machine, now that I have the gloves on, I'm getting a nice longer stitch. I can see it was much shorter here before I put the gloves on. And that's sometimes things we will see and find out. And just come along, and I take out, as I come to that pin and pin more, just take that out. Make sure it's in my cup and my thing, get that quilt positioned where it'll feed through. And just keep on going down. Now we're at our next, we've gone a few inches. We'll keep on going, and I'm just doing these straight lines like this. Things are getting a little bunched up there. And we'll come around here. So just like that. So I'm going to keep going on this. I think you all probably have a good idea. Count over 8 to 12 stitches depending on how close you want everything. And you know, further or longer if you like a wider or a thinner look. Don't be hard on yourself if this is your first or even your 100th project. You could just do this good work, and the quilt's going to be so beautiful. I'll certainly keep quilting, and as we get closer to the end, we'll come back and show you how we finish up everything. Well, welcome back, everybody. We're getting really close to the end now. I know for you all just a few moments. We've been working on this, I'm going to guess, for about a half hour or so. And we're just getting to this little end. I want to make sure at this point, this is why I like this extra fabric. Really lets me have somewhere to hold on to while I'm doing that edge. And then I'm going to do a little back stitching here. Just to use my little thread cutter and tie that off. And you just roll the fabric up as you twist under here. And I did want to talk a little bit about batting as you take a look, and I'm seeing it all done for the first time. And I think that looks really good. I think that light color still looks nice. Now, so I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. And the binding will go around the edge, and that's what we're going to do next week's video, is we'll trim this up and get the binding on. We're using 100% cotton in this, and this will be a table topper, even though it may hang in the store for a little bit, but mainly making it not as a wall hanging, but as a table topper. I have heard recently that if you're doing wall hangings, to have a little polyester in the batting. So using 80-20 or 100% polyester, it'll droop less. Cotton and wool can have a chance when they're hanging to start to settle down, and while I don't know, I've not done a lot of testing on things like that. If that is true, and you're making this as a wall hanging, that's a really good tip to buy something with a little bit of polyester in it. That way you can have a nice straight wall hanging after you spent so much time working on the project. I certainly hope that you're having fun doing this. If you are sewing along with us, let us know. Leave comments down below with what colors you're using, and if you're having fun, and hopefully you're all at least enjoying and learning some good tips. If you are, do like and subscribe. We'd love to have you join our wonderful community. And certainly be kind to yourself. If you're playing Bob and Chicken this week, I do hope you win. And we'll see you back next week. Have a great day. Bye.